welcome back to the channel. On this video we're going to do a ride on the Lyric Graffiti, as you see it right there. This is the original 2022 Lyric Graffiti, but on this video I'll be riding this bike, but I want to talk about another Lyric Cycles bike, and that will be the Graffiti X. So I have an update on the Graffiti X, so let's go for a ride and talk a little bit about that bike. Bit of a light, very light rain coming out at the moment, but the weather here is much better than it's been for the past week. We got some pretty nasty ice and cold temperatures over the past week, but like I say, it looks a lot better now. So let's talk about the Graffiti X, and let's talk a little bit about the bike before, in case you're not familiar with it, before I let you know what I know about what's going on with it. So the Graffiti X is a step up from the one that I'm riding right now. It's the big brother, if you will, of the regular Lyric Graffiti, not to get confused with the Graffiti 2023 model, which is a different bike. It's different in some ways, but in some ways it's the same bike, but because it does have a geared rear motor in the hub motor, as opposed to this one having a geared. It's less power, it's less expensive. But anyway, let's talk a little bit about the Graffiti X. So it is a 60 volt bike, and that bike will have a 60 volt 3000 watt motor, which will peak, they're saying, at 7200 watt. And the battery is a 60 volt 35 amp hour, nice size battery. I mean, if you want to nitpick about the bike, you might say, well, what about a little bit bigger battery? How about a 50 amp hour? But with that also would come a bigger price tag, and we don't all want to spend more than we are already spending. So, but 35 amp hour, that's not terrible. And it does have a 80 amp controller. I do not know what controller they are using for the bike. Let's see what else. It does come, unlike this bike, it will have a full suspension. That'll be nice. The tires, it already comes with good tires that should last you a while. So it does come with the V Huntsman tires that are kind of like street and off-road. You can do kind of either or. And the bike itself is that. It is a on-road, off-road. So if you want to take it off-road, you can. If you want to ride on the road, you can do that as well. The full suspension will be nice, especially for going off-road. That's one thing that I find, if you are off-roading, that's something you definitely would want on your bike. It makes a big difference to have a full suspension as opposed to just the front or no suspension at all. So that's a good plus. And It does have 4-piston hydraulic brakes, and I believe there is going to be, those are Magura brakes, by the way, and I believe it's going to also have regen braking. The rotors on the bike for the brakes are 203 millimeters, so they're nice size rotors. The bike is going to have 9 pedal assist levels. It's a carbon belt drive as opposed to chain, which this bike has, and I really like that. Low maintenance. It's going to have, I believe it's the same headlight as the bike that I have now, and this headlight is outstanding. I have not seen a bike yet that has a better headlight than the Lyric Graffiti has. So if you do night riding at all, you're going to love that. It does have a full set of lights, not only the tail light, but the brake light, tail light, and it does come with turn signals, and that's a plus. And the other thing it comes with that this bike doesn't have is a horn. And a horn is better than a bell, because the horn, cars are going to be able to hear that as opposed to a bell. There's no way they're going to hear it if you're doing street riding. If you're on a pedestrian bike path, then the horn may startle a few people. So I think in that case, a bell would be good. I'd like to actually have both, or be able to turn your horn volume up or down depending on where you're riding. Because I know as a pedestrian walking, if you hear a horn, that could, you know, you're not totally paying attention, that may startle people. Let's see, the tires on the bike are 20x4, if I didn't mention the size of them. And this bike is really attractive looks-wise. I mean, I don't know anybody yet that's seen this bike that says that's an ugly bike. Lyric definitely has their looks down. I mean, I like the style and looks of all of their bikes. So definite thumbs up for the design of the bikes. The other thing I was going to mention too that you don't see on too many bikes is it does have a full twist throttle. So as opposed to this bike that I'm riding now, it has a thumb throttle, and I've gotten used to the thumb throttle, but it is nice to have a twist throttle, especially a full twist throttle. That's going to be fun. Kind of like riding a motorcycle. What else can I tell you? Let's see. I'm going off my memory as to what I remember the bike has. I mean, they're not really sorted yet on the colors, but I think they're getting it down. Personally, I like the black. I'm a big fan of this particular bike. I think black is the way to go on it. Sometimes black can be like ho-hum, you know, everything else is black, but I think on this particular bike, the black, as they say, pops on this bike. I mean, personally, that's my opinion. Somebody else might like blue or red or gray or white, but I think that bike looks sharp with the black. Let's see, what else with this bike? It's a two-seater, so with pegs for a rear rider if you want a double ride. I've only done that on this bike one time. My preference is to ride alone, but if you get in a situation where somebody needs a ride, or you know, they don't have a bike and you want to give them a lift, or they want to come for a little ride, you can do it with two people. Oh, the other thing I didn't mention yet, I just thought of, is the charger. It comes with a 8-amp charger. That's a good sized charger, especially for charging up a battery as big as a 35 amp hour. So I'm glad they gave, or are giving, a large, instead of a 4 or 5 amp charger or 3 amp, at least they're giving an 8 amp charger, which is great. The bike is going to have fenders. I didn't mention that. The range, they're saying 60 to 70 miles pedaling, which I don't think you're going to do a lot of pedaling on this bike. I think this bike is throttle it. But, and I think it was 30 to 40, if I remember right. Throttling. And my calculations all the time, I always say, if you're throttling only, especially if you're riding faster, let's say you're riding that thing like 35 miles an hour, I would say you're probably going to get 1 mile for every amp hour of battery. So if it's a 35 amp hour battery, I think you're probably going to get about 35 miles. You know, that's riding it at pretty good speeds. So the other thing I wanted to mention quickly is that that bike is up for reserve right now. If you want to reserve one, now the reserve money is $20 and it's non-refundable. This is not a down payment toward the purchase of the bike. This just gives you the opportunity to be first in line to get one, and also have a shot at getting up to 25% off of the price of the bike, which is $39.99. And so if you want to reserve it, you better hurry up and reserve now. I'm recording this video on, what's the date today? The 21st of January, Sunday, and the bike is going to be for sale, pre-sale starting on Wednesday. So you only have a few more days. I'll be putting this up tomorrow, which will be the 22nd. So you only have a couple of days to get your reserve in there before the bike goes up for sale, so you get a shot at up to 25%. So you're going to get something off, but it won't be, everybody's not going to get 25%, just a lucky amount. I don't know how many people, but we'll see how this goes. But I would say if you want to get in on it, I would get in now while you can, and then have a shot at getting up to 25% off. So that's going to do it on this video, talking about the Lyric Graffiti X. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Also, if you want to be notified as to when the next video comes up on the channel, just hit that notification bell and you'll be notified. Once again, thank you for joining me on this video, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.